This is a very interesting interaction between Cliff and the Green Man. Take a look.
What makes you so certain that these Gospels are accurate tellings of what happened?
Great question. You are a thinker, and I appreciate it a lot. All right, you're right. How do we know that the Jesus we read about in the Gospels was a real historical person? Why do you trust the Gospels? Because I have tests that I use to determine historicity claimed by any book. And I would encourage you to come up with your own tests. Obviously, there's nothing magical about my tests. My tests are 4. Internal consistency. Are there contradictions within the text between the different eyewitnesses that point to massive confusion? No, when you read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, there are differences, as we talked about earlier, but there's a tremendous internal consistency. Second test, literary style. What is the literary style of the document? Or what's the literary style of the Iliad and the Odyssey?
Epic poetry.
Bingo. Precisely. The Iliad and the Odyssey are not historical narrative. They are epic poetry. The Gospels are not epic poetry. They are historical narrative. That's important, the literary style. Thirdly, archaeology. Are we talking about the island of Atlantis out in the ocean that none of us can verify? No. We're talking about Bethlehem, Nazareth, Jerusalem, Rome.
Yeah.
Archaeologically verifiable places. And then fourthly, good gracious, what's the manuscript evidence that we really have what the eyewitnesses wrote? And the New Testament that we have today in English is based on over 5,800 Greek manuscripts or pieces of manuscript dated from the 2nd through the 10th century AD.
Yes.
In fact, if we were to lose all of them, we wouldn't have a problem. Because the early church fathers between the 2nd and 4th century quote the New Testament 38,289 times. Every verse except 11 in the New Testament
Very remarkably well.
are quoted by these early church fathers. So we have such a plethora of evidence that we really have what Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wrote. We don't have the original autographs. The original manuscripts are either destroyed or we'll find them someday. But the overwhelming evidence is it's historically reliable, the New Testament that we have in English.
Another evidence that we have is the resurrection of Jesus Christ. His disciples claim they saw him rise from the dead and they were willing to give up their lives. That is powerful evidence.